I absolutely loved "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." I was so drawn into this narrative, and I really want to see the play that featured in this. This is a 2022 Hallmark film. It's directed by Gary Yates. It's written by C.J. Cox and Gary Yates, based on the play by Jack Casey and Duncan Crier. And this stars Torrey DeVitto as Madison. We also have Zane Holtz and Weiss. And I have to say, as a story, it has to be one of my favourites of all of the Christmas films I've seen this year so far. Madison is home for Christmas, and she's decided to reinvent herself as a director. She's got a career as an actress, but she really wants to do some more directing. So she decides the perfect opportunity is to direct the town's Christmas play. And this is a courtroom drama, which I have to say, first of all, really appealed to me. I love courtroom dramas. Funny courtroom dramas, even better. And this actually addresses something I'd never heard of, and I did a bit of Googling, and it's actually really interesting. Apparently, we all know that Clement Seymour wrote "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," but that might not be the case. There's actually an argument that it was potentially written by Henry Livingston Jr. I'd never heard of this before, and I haven't done too much research into it, but I did a little bit about the history of A Visit from St. Nicholas, which was the poem's original title, and it's really interesting. And this film is now my primary source for this argument. And there are some really interesting points. And I have to say, I'm really rather fascinated. We get to see a lot of the rehearsals of the performance, and obviously we get to hear a lot of the arguments for who wrote it, and I absolutely loved it. I also loved the person. He's played by Richard Waugh, who played the character of Livingston. I just thought the character was amazing. I absolutely loved what he brought to this. And aside from that, we also have a potential romantic aspect as well, but I won't say too much about that. I don't want to give away too much. That part of it's maybe a little predictable, but the rest of it, I'd say, isn't predictable. It went off in a couple of directions that I hadn't expected, but everything makes perfect sense within the context of the film, and I thought it was just absolutely spectacular. I will say, it takes a lot to get this right, because there are many films that deal with putting on performances, shows about shows, and sometimes they don't get the balance right. We watch too much of the performance, and that's obviously detracting from the main narrative, the real narrative, if you like. But with this one, not only did they get the balance right, but I absolutely loved every second that we got to see of the performances, the rehearsals. I found it to be so fascinating and so well done. And I don't think they needed to show us anymore. But had they decided to make those scenes a little bit longer or incorporate them a little bit more frequently, I would have been all for that. But they didn't need to do that. I just would have loved it. So I absolutely adored this. Very festive as well. It has a nice, heartwarming Christmas feel to it. I thought it was fantastic. "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" is a brilliant story. The characters are perfectly likeable, really good performances, solid amount of Christmas, and I'm now very keen to explore more about whether Clement Seymour actually did write A Visit from St. Nicholas. It definitely seems like, I'm assuming certain scholars have done a much deeper look at this, and he is still being credited as the author. So I'm assuming the general consensus is that he did write it, but I'm keen to explore that a bit more, and if anybody has any thoughts on that, I'd love to hear them. But for now, I'm pleased to say that "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" is an absolute gem of a film, and I am very, very happy to recommend it.